Well, this year we're celebrating our nation's 250th birthday, honoring everyday Americans. We call it Red, White, and You.
It is the perfect way to honor veterans in the St. Louis area who have served their country. Steve Savard is here now with tonight's Spotlight on Service.
Tonight we are literally talking about decades. We're talking decades of service here. John Pfanstiel enlisted in the Army after high school, not sure where that would lead. 35 years later, he says the military changed his life for the better. 27 years in service led to 27 years serving our community as a St. Louis County police officer. John says leadership lessons learned in his deployments in the war on terror made him a better leader in the county tactical unit.
Example might be letting your subordinates, or making sure your subordinates are fed before you stuff your face, right? You know, so if the food runs out, at least your subordinates have been fed, and you know you can suck it up for a while.
John graduated airborne school in his original enlistment.
Airborne wings, jumping out of airplanes.
And eventually joined the reserves, where he trained soldiers as a drill sergeant. Not the stereotypical confrontational type we're used to seeing in movies.
If every drill sergeant was tearing them up and spitting them out, we wouldn't have an army. There wouldn't be enough people left.
So your approach was to be a mentor?
I was a mentor. I felt my role was, you know, we had plenty of big guys that could do the heavy part. I thought it was more important to build their confidence up.
In the post-9/11 war on terror, John deployed 3 times, including an 11th-month mission to Iraq in 2008 as a first lieutenant with the military police. He led a platoon that trained Iraqi police. The daily dangers to life and limb were both obvious and subtle.
IEDs, small arms fire, grenades. The main danger was not knowing who your friend and your enemy were. But you just never know who is kind of riding the fence on, you know, I support you, I smile in your face here, but tomorrow I might be attacking you or setting a roadside bomb. Case in point, we worked with some Iraqi police in Mosul, and the day or 2 weeks after I left country, the lieutenant from Tennessee that relieved me was killed by an Iraqi policeman that turned on him. So it's kind of surreal thinking that could have been me.
In one high-pressure situation, John's platoon narrowly escaped harm while he and a small group tried to calm hundreds of angry villagers after an armored fighting vehicle collided with civilians, killing a father and daughter.
That was pretty stressful. I had a grenade land under my vehicle when I was dismounted, and fortunately, by the grace of God, it did not detonate, but we had several detonate around us, and it was a pretty stressful situation.
John says he thinks about his time in combat daily and admits to occasionally feeling survivor guilt, but never questions his decision to serve.
I think ultimately did a good job. Troops responded well to my leadership, and you know, getting them all home safely, that's the reward.
You do it all again, just the way you did it?
Absolutely.
At age 54, John has 54 years of combined service as both a soldier and officer. He retired from county police in August as a captain. John and his wife Suzette raised 2 children and live in St. Charles County. Now his focus is serving other veterans. He volunteers as a flight leader with Greater St. Louis Honor Flight.
So important to tell these stories, and thanks for doing that. We appreciate it, Steve.
Absolutely.